495 page here. I don't know if you guys can see that in the back there. But there's basically 4 things you can go ahead and download if you didn't do it last week. It's the on the GitHub page is the first thing. We're going to be using the SD-log2. That's going to be the actual file that converts, or Python script that converts your .bin file to a CSV file. So to get that, click on this PX4 firmware, and you'll click on this clone or download tab. So what that'll do is that'll basically take all these files and put them in your downloads directory, which you'll find over here on the top left. The next thing I have under on Slack Git is this tool here. I just got this a little. Use this to plot and look at your data. So that's actually going to pull in your CSV file, and then so you'll have this basically this giant array. And I'll show you how to easily basically pull each column in so you can process that data and do what you need to do with it. So go ahead and download that using the download button there. And then for tonight, I showed you last week how to get the .bin file, but if you just want to follow along, you can just grab here's the .bin file that I put up there. And then last thing we'll need, and we'll talk about in a minute, is this Python, I think it's a library called Pandas. We'll use that in a minute. But so basically, I guess I talked about this last week, but I'll go ahead and do it again. First, open up a terminal. I'm going to clear this. We'll start from scratch. So I'll get some screens. So start from the beginning. When you downloaded those files, they went into the downloads folder. So just like last week, to enter that folder and type CD, and then you can start typing download, and then hit tab, and it'll pre-populate that and hit enter. So now we're in the downloads folder, and then type ls. It's going to list everything in the downloads folder. So you see here I have my .bin file I downloaded, this processing data example. That's going to show you how to process your CSV file. And then this is the SD-log2 file. Let me explain to you how you get that. Let me go back to here. So in the Slack channel, I guess I probably should play that better, but in the Slack channel, the first link that you would have grabbed, I'll go back to this guy. When you click on it, I said you go back here to PX4 firmware, click the clone or download. Basically, that's going to download a big zip file, and we only want really one file out of a zip file. I could have just saved that on Slack, but just gets you experience using GitHub too. So what's going to happen is when you download that, you open up your downloads file, you're going to see a, I guess it's right here, PX4 firmware.zip. This one. So basically, you'll just right click on that, say extract to here. When you do that, so kind of makes another folder here, the same name without the .zip. So we want a folder inside it. So click on that via the downloaded piece, and then go into the tools folder. This is where you might want to write it down just so you can find it in the future. And then we want this SD-log2 folder here, go into there, and the piece of Python code that we want that's already written for us is this sdlog2.dump.py folder. I just right click on that and copy it. And basically I just put it up here in the up front in the downloads folder. So it's already there. You'll see why here in a second. It makes it easier to access it while I'm doing that. Everybody good? Okay, so now we have our .bin file we want to convert. It's a piece of code that we want to use to convert that .bin file to a CSV. This I was trying earlier to make sure it worked. So really you should only have, basically, those are the two important things, the .bin file and your Python script. So to run this, you come back over to the terminal, remember I opened it up, I guess maybe we showed it 2 weeks ago. You get to the terminal, you click on this icon down here and Ubuntu 18, and then you can start typing terminal. And boom, there you go. That's a new terminal, but I'll start from here then, so everything's on the same page. So you need to right now the control. So I'm gonna right now I'm just in my user directory. So I'm gonna go into the downloads directories, the CD downloads, tap on it, and then list everything that's inside it. So we have this everything kind of set up to run. So to run it, you just type Python space and then the name of the file Python script you want to run, which in our case is the SD log 2 folder. And then there's a few things after you need to give it. You need to give it the .bin file you want. So I'm just gonna copy and paste my .bin file. Another important thing to note here, I forgot, I've already kind of pre-done this. By default, when you download a bin file, the RDPod firmware puts a space in between these two digits here. I just put in an underscore. Otherwise, I guess like the guys in the back had this issue last week, it didn't populate anything in the CSV file. That's a hint there if it doesn't work, to check that. And then we want to tell it where to go, so you just type -F with another space, quote, and then the name of the file. I'm just going to call it test.csv. And then you end the quote there. And then you just hit enter. And what should happen, it takes a few seconds there to run. But what will happen when this comes back, if you go back to your downloads folder, which is the folder we're working in, you will see a CSV file there now. So we can click on that and see if it actually populated. It looked like it did. I'll go ahead and open it completely. Look at this error because I think this particular file is 1,000 columns long, or 1,000 columns long would be the right way to say it. Say okay. So here's our CSV file with pretty much everything that we'd want to know. Bar this one too. So you see, we have all this data, which is nice, but you want to be able to process it. So that's the next part that I'm going to show you. So this is kind of the new stuff that I didn't talk about last week. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize the CSV file. And so the next part, we're going to be using this processing data example.py that I wrote. So I'm going to go ahead and open it. There's a few things we have to talk about before you can just use it. So the top of the scripts here are the libraries that it's going to use. So this pandas library, basically that's what's going to pull in this giant CSV file and then pack it into one basically variable. And then we'll be able to split up the variables fairly easily. And then we have import matlib. I'll show you some examples of how to do some plotting. NumPy, I'm not using it right now in this particular code, but this lets you do mathematical functions such as exponentials, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction, etc. So the first line of this code that actually really does anything, so what I'm doing here is I'm using this pandas library, basically rename it PD so it's easier to write later on in the code. So it says PD for short now. And then this .read CSV, so it's going to read in the CSV file. And what you need to do is once you've downloaded this code, is you will basically just get rid of this stuff in the middle here. So I'm just going to stick this here. So the CSV file that I want it to read, if I go back to mine, I just created it. I guess I called it test.csv. I'm just going to show the spelling is right. Test.csv, lowercase letters.
We're getting an error for Bob trying to open up the data processing file because it could not display this file with an unknown type.
You just download it from
from
Slack?
Slack. Yeah.
It should just open as a Python. This does, are you using the Ubuntu, right?
Yes. Does anyone else have it open or no?
Because I just downloaded it and opened it.
Yeah.
The bin file you can't open
Yeah,
it.
you have to be able to access in binary, so you have to have a binary, or so you have to use like a bin walk or something like that. You know, what you're doing is, you're using that Python script to process this, that will create a CSV file.
So you just want to save that file.
Okay.
And then to try like rename it or something?
Yeah.
You can just right click on it wherever it's, whatever directory it's saved in. And then just hit rename it without opening it. It should work. Like, I don't know if I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here's my bin file. I just right click on it and say rename. And it opens up that little.
Okay.
So that basically, so now the CSV file is pulling as this DF. So this DF is like 1,000 columns by 1,000 rows. So the beauty of using pandas is if we want to basically take, say, row or RC input and assign it to a variable. So like I've done here, RC1, and I'm calling it, basically what I'm doing is I'm just saying, here's the column header name, go look for that and call it RC1. So if the developers go in and add, or you guys add recording, I don't know, like say a distance 2 or something, that could change, that could basically shift the number of columns in the file. So if you gave it just, if you basically indexed it to a specific column number, then your readings would be all off. So the beauty of pandas is it doesn't look for a column number, it looks for a variable name or header name. So that's what this is doing up here, is the header names. So if I open the CSV file, select it open here, it's going to actually go in and find RC1, which I think it's, I had RCN. So it's actually going to grab the numbers in this column and assign that to a variable RC1. And then you can just do that for any of them. Like I have like 2 other examples here. But so what it's doing is DF, notice that it's basically saying in the DF matrix, pull out that column with that name. So basically then you can, now it's just treated as variables. So if anybody that's used MATLAB in here, it's very similar to that, to do mathematical functions to it, as far as anything that you want to do there. And then I just kind of left this plotting tool in here. So basically what it's going to do is it's going to plot the time on the x-axis, and then the IMU. This would be actually roll. Yeah, this would be roll rate, or just basically in radians per second, or degrees per second, excuse me. So that on the y-axis, and then time on the z-axis. So I should be able to run this here and show you. Oh yeah, one more thing. This here, this is basically setting bounds for your x-axis, and then this will be bounds for the y-axis. Just to kind of make your plots look better. Then the last thing is actually plot the thing and display it. So let me just minimize. Actually, I have to save this because I changed this. I think I'm missing a quote. So I'll try it and save it. So to run it, it's already here processing test data example.py. So you just type Python and then start typing the name of the file you want it to run. Python and then, I guess lastly, that file that we saved in the code, just make sure it's in the same folder, which I'm not seeing it here because I haven't updated the list since I last ran, since I ran this previous script and it created it. So if I do ls, we'll see this is the CSV file I want to grab, using this code here, so I'll go ahead and just run that. We'll, there we go. Let's type again. Python. So we hit enter. So it looks like, so you probably, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, these guys. So what it's saying is it doesn't have the matplotlib library. In your case, also, if you try and run this without it, it's also going to say you don't have the pandas library. So before you can run the script, I put the link to it on the Slack channel, the MAE 495 page. Down here it says link to install pandas, so click on that link. And then you can read through this. What I use is I just kind of scroll down close to the bottom of the page, and I just use this pip install pandas. You just basically copy that, and then paste it in your terminal line. So I'm just going to do it. It's going to say I already have it because I did it earlier. Just going to collect in pieces. It might take like probably a minute or so for yours if it's never done it before, but it says, actually it looks like it's updated it, but for you. The other one you need to go out and grab is the matplotlib. So let me, bear with me here, this is the first time I'm using on this virtual machine to set it up. I'm going to go ahead and post that. So I'm just going to do, I'll post this to the Slack channel as well. They have these commands down here you can use as well. I'm just gonna, that's the pip install. You want this one? So I'm just gonna grab that line. I don't know if you can see it in the back. I'll post it on the Slack channel, but I'm gonna go ahead and use that there. Do its thing. So now I should be able to do the applying. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen, make it easier. Let's see, like you basically again try and run my processing data example again. Run it. Imagine they think you're using stuff like
The file you
that. Oh, that's. Because this is the processing data. So. You shouldn't, because it's already written in the.
So one nice thing when you're doing this, because little updates will all of a sudden, something that worked, I've had stuff that worked 4 days earlier, and then something will change with an update, especially, you put this back on and you notice it downloaded something extra this time that it hadn't done before, so there's probably an update today. So when that happens, whatever it tells you, hey, I don't have this, it told you it couldn't see MATLAB, right? If it says what it can't see, you just copy that, put it in Google, and they tell you, hey, this is how I install it. So one nice thing about when you're with Ubuntu is it will tell you, hey, this is the error I'm having trying to run this, and you just put it in exactly like that, and somebody else has had the same issue, it'll tell you the exact installation.
So it looks like somebody's using this apt-get here to do it. Let me try that and see if that fixes it.
So with apt-get, if you're not running as sudo sudo, just remember it's a little different than pip. Pip doesn't always require a sudo. So I get in the habit of this all the time. When I bounce between Kali and Pin to something where I don't always have to use sudo. Then when I go to Ubuntu, sometimes it'll throw you off a little bit. So anytime I get that where it says lock file varlib dpk, that means it needs sudo. It's telling you, hey, you don't have permission to start accessing this stuff. So if you ever see that error, check for sudo.
CSV file does not exist. Let's see.
Oh, capital T.
So then, come back to the editor. Make sure you spell the file name exactly how it was done before. Don't forget to click save as well. Give us a shot. There we go. Okay. So I'll post those things I added there at the end, but so now it's basically plotted. We have, I don't have the units on here, but.
So you don't have to have MATLAB on it to do this?
The what?
You don't have to have MATLAB on it, just making a MATLAB-like plot, right?
Right. It's all in Python.
And you use the same data in MATLAB?
You can. So you could, this is just kind of like to kind of give you guys an option to learn something new using Python and process the data using Python versus taking a CSV file and importing it into MATLAB. You're importing it into Python.
So what was the data that you just plotted?
So this is actually the gyros about the x-axis of the vehicle. So
Is this the actual flight?
this is from an actual.
What else did you download?
I had actually I grabbed anything, so I could go in anything in the CSV file. So like, let's see, something that's more like maybe altitude. I can
Is this
drive.
an indoor flight or outdoor?
This is an outdoor flight. This was actually from a fixed wing vehicle.
GPS altitude.
So we could, let's see, we could call it header. And Control F maybe. So if you want the GPS altitude to be applied, you literally just type in that name, capital GPS, capital A. So I'm going to go to the code. You can just make a new line here, so we'll say GPS alt equals, so then space and type df because we're pulling it out of the matrix from the CSV file, open bracket, single quote, and then it's just VPS and then underscore capital A T, single quote, close the bracket, and then in here you can just actually you can do 2 plots, so let's go ahead and do that one there. Dot.
Just remember too, when you're putting these in, case specific for this stuff. So if you put a capital versus an uppercase or things like that, when you're putting these variables in, variables are going to be case specific. and those underscores also.
So is there gonna be an assignment, Brian, to make some plots or something like that?
Yeah, we could do that.
I have a question, so the plot axis line right there, does that tell you like how, like, it's like the range for each
It
axis?
just says that, that's that.
Right.
Okay, so like that's those first two numbers are like the X,
This would be the x-axis.
okay.
So it's min, X min, X max, Y min, Y max. It's just like MATLAB. It's an axis command.
I think this one was 20 meters. Okay, I had to put this to 30. So it's not going to show because this IMU data here wasn't very good, but so it's going to go from -5 to 30 for the y-axis. I'll save it and run it. You can take a look at it here. So let's run it again. It's still technically running because the plot's there, so you just have to close the plot when it goes back to your folder there. So I'm just going to run it again. Here's the plot, and if it worked, oh, I guess that data is,
So that's the IMU data. Is it underneath that line?
I'm trying to think, I think it should be units, should be well above that. The flight was around 50 feet, but that may, I think, let me try it again actually. Do a larger range, or actually just get rid of the range.
You think it wasn't box, you didn't have the right range?
I think it's looking at a range that's, you can't see.
But all you got was the IMU, is that gonna be both in the same plot? They should be two
Yes,
separate plots.
yeah,
shouldn't
it should plot over the other one. I can, let me try it again. I'll just turn this one off for now.
Yeah.
But putting that plot dot show at the end should just, it's like doing a whole
So
line.
it's stack the plots? Okay.
But it might not show again because this range is too small, but I can actually, just run it again and see. So it looks like the range, I can also just verify it by, if I go to my document here, it looks like these are minus. That's interesting. They're all
Oh, so
big.
you're getting, yeah.
Oh,
Not sure what happened there. That's a dot bin or a Pixar issue for some reason.
If you go further, does it finally become positive? Like, can you do max on that line?
so if you did 0 to like -50,
That it would show.
yeah.
I did that the other day, or it was a negative. Let's see. I'll just try it. Maybe 50 to 0. I'm not sure why it's negative like that. It's strange to me. I didn't.
Maybe it's not the file I thought it was. 'Cause that looks like it's just sitting on the ground, thinking it's,
It could be.
getting weird GPS.
Oh, that's right. This was, I pulled this bin file from this quad.
Yeah.
That's why.
Okay.
It's not positive.
Yeah, so it's not a flag.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just sitting there,
It's
probably
just sitting there
in the building. not
in the building with no
moving.
signal. But so that kind of gives you the idea of what you can do with this. It's pretty nice. 'Cause I think I tried it in MATLAB doing this before. It looks like MATLAB's basically indexing it to specific columns and rows, which is kind of a pain because if you're doing this a lot, and they tend to change things that are being recorded, they take away things, they add things. By using the header name instead of an actual column and row number, this doesn't matter if they change it. That's one of the big benefits of it. But like I said, you could list everything here as variables that you see in the in that CSV file, and then you'll be able to apply it for the math tools. You can also do mathematical. You can take matrices, multiply them together just like you do in MATLAB. You can do the I can put up some documentation on that too if you'd like it.
You know, I think you can split that CSV file. You can split, take out, and allows 10,000, and then what we'll do is we'll make others, and we'll actually split it into 10,000 increments, so that each one goes to half.
Yeah, that'd be,
And you could have the terminal, so the middle, you can just do the split, tack out, like 100 for 100 lines, 1,000 for 1,000 lines, and then the name of the CSV file, and it automatically break them into file 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and you just do that right now.
Good time sequence.
Because then if you had an area that you want to focus on, then you want to look at file 5, file 6, and you don't know.
Right, yeah, that's,
Yeah, check it, I'm pretty sure that
Thank you.
CSV.
Are you done with that?
what if you want?
So let me, get the HDMI out of here and plug it into that computer so we can set up now there.
Okay.
And while you're doing that, I'm just gonna see if that split works on that file.